Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
Hello all, myself Keerthana from CSE department at Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology. In this video, we are going to learn about basic list operations in Python. So, in this video, we will be learning basic list operations like concatenation, finding the membership in a list and multiplying the list, that is replicating the list, and how to slice the list. Before jumping into the basic operation, let's have an overview of what is list. So, we all know how to create a list. Just to create a list, we will be using square bracket, and if we assign an empty square bracket to a variable, then this creates an empty list. If we want to create a list with certain elements, then we have to mention a square bracket, then inside that we have to give some values. To separate them, we will be using comma. So, if we give like this, inside a square bracket we mention certain values separated by a comma, this will create a list with certain elements, and list is an ordered and mutable data type. That is, we can access the list using their index values, and if we want to change the list elements, we can also use their index value to change their values. So, for example, here we can see previously the sample list was having 4 elements. The first element is a string ABC, and the next element is 9, the next element is A, and the last element is 1.1, which is a float. So, if you see here, I am going to change the index value, which is small, lowercase a. I am going to change that lowercase a into the uppercase a. To do so, we have to mention the variable name followed by a square bracket. Inside the square bracket, we will have to mention the index for which we are going to change the value. Say for example, I am going to change a, for index of a is 2, so I am going to mention 2 here. So, variable which is sample list followed by a square bracket, inside the square bracket the index value, and we are going to assign the new value to particular index. So, I am mentioning uppercase A to the particular index 2. Now, after doing so, we can see the result as the second index value now changed to capital A. So, this is how we will be working with list. So, according to today's agenda, we will be looking at concatenation, membership, that is to find whether the element present in a particular list or not, and replicating the list. Replicating the list is nothing but we are going to extend the list with the same list elements and slicing the list. So, firstly, we are going to discuss about concatenation. Concatenation is nothing but joining 2 or more lists. To do so, we will be using a plus operator. Here, if you see, I have taken 2 lists, list 1 and list 2. List 1 has elements A, B, C and D. Similarly, list 2 has elements E, F, G and H. So, to concatenate those lists, so concatenating has some certain order. So, if I want to join my list 2 at the end of list 1, I am going to join my list 1, list 2 at the end of list 1. So, do so, what I will be doing is list 1 followed by the plus operator, and at the last I am going to add the list 2. So, I am going to mention list 2 at the last. So, if I do so, I will get one list which is formed using these two, list 1 and list 2, which is named as list 3. Here you can see first the list 1 element is appearing followed by the list 2 elements are appearing. To do it in another order, see, if I want my list 2 elements to come first and followed by I want my list 1 elements, then I can go by this way. So, I am going to add list 1 at the end of list 2. So, I am going to mention list 2 plus list 1. I am just reversing the way which I done previously. So, if I do like this, I will get my list 2 elements first, then followed by my list 1 elements. This is how we concatenate 2 or more lists. If we want to concatenate even more lists, we can just use plus operator followed by the lists. So, next one we are going to look at is membership. Membership is nothing but I am just going to check whether the desired element is present in the list or not. To check whether it is a member, we will be using in keyword. In keyword, see, I've declared a list 1 here. List 1 has A, B, C as the elements. I am just going to print A in list, that is, it will be returning true if A is a member of list 1, that is, if list 1 contains A in it, then I will get true as my output. If not, I will get false. Here it is printing true because list 1 is in list, sorry, A is in list 1. So, it is giving us true. In case if I print something else, if I want to find F is a member of list 1, it will return false because in list 1 there is no element called F. So, it will return false. Similarly, to find it in the other way, we will be using not in keyword. That means to check whether that particular element is not a member of that list. Got it? So, here I am using the same list, list 1. A, B, C, D is the elements of list 1. I am printing A not in list 1. It is returning false because A is in list 1. So, it will return as false when we use not in keyword. The next topic is replicating list is nothing but we are going to extend the list using the same list elements. That is, same example, I am taking list 1 which has A, B, C, D as its elements. So, we are going to look at replication of list, and replication is nothing but we are just going to extend the list with the same list elements. That is, if I take list 1, I am going to get the multiple copies of list 1. I am just duplicating the list and joining them at the end of the list. Got it? So, here I have list 1 which has element A, B, C and D. So, when I multiply, to do this operation I will be using an asterisk symbol. So, I am going to assign list 2, I am just considering list 2 as a new list. I am just taking list 1 asterisk 2. It means it is going to give 2 copies of list 1. So, the elements are same as list 1 but we are getting 2 copies of the list 1. This is known as replicating or multiplying to get the repeated elements of the list. The next topic is slicing. So, slicing is nothing but taking a part from the list. That is, whenever we want to access a certain element of a list, we will slice them from the original list, then we will do any operations on them. To do so, we will be using this particular syntax. This is the syntax for slicing the list. So, the syntax is as followed. First, it should have the list name, then followed by the square brackets. Inside the square brackets, there are 3 partitions separated by the 2 colons. That is, the first part is for start index, the initial index, and the second part is the end index, and the third part is the index jump value. So, defaultly all these 3 values, for the start one, the default value is 0, and for the end index, the default value is length of that particular string, and the index jump is +1. These are the default values for list slicing. If I didn't mention anything, see in this example, in this below line, you can see that L1 of square brackets, inside that I have just mentioned a single colon. So, if I didn't mention anything, the default values are taken. That is, the start index will be 0 and the end index will be length of that particular string. So, if we take this string as the example, A, B, C, D, E, F, G is the elements and the length is 0 till 7. So, the length is 8. So, it will be printing 0 till 8, and the process of this is it will take the start index and it will increment one by one. So, the first one A will be printed if the jump index is default by +1. So, 0 plus 1 is 1, the next index is 1. So, B will be printed, again 1 plus 1 is 2. So, C will be printed, 2 plus 1 is 3, then D will be printed. So, for till the length of the string will be printed, the whole elements in the list will be printed if I just simply give like this. And the next type is I want to start from a certain index, but after that I want the elements till the end. If I want to do so, I will be using this type of slicing. I will just mention the starting index and I will leave the end index as usual, because it is going to be the default value, that is the length of the particular list. So, I want the value from C till the end of the list. So, I am going to start from C. So, I will be using the index of C value. Here if you see, the index of C is 2 and the negative index of C is -6. There are 2 ways to slice the list. Either we can use them by positive indexing or we can slice them using the negative indexing. So, the first one is sliced using the positive indexing. So, I want to start from C. So, I am giving the start index as 2. Then I have to end till the last element. So, I am just giving nothing there because it is considered as the length of the particular string. The second one, I am just mentioning the start index, the negative index -6, and it will be goes on till the last. See, whenever I give start index, it will be take that index and it will, the default value for index jump is +1. So, it will add 1 to the start index. Every time it iterates, it will be keep on incrementing and it will be printing till the end. So, the next type is I want to start from the beginning, but I want to stop at certain index. I don't want to go till the last. If I want to do so, I will be giving nothing in my start index and I will be mentioning the end index, but as we saw previously in this slide, we will be giving whatever the value we want +1 as my end index. So, if you look at this slide, I want till G, that is the index 6, but we are mentioning 7 because our slicing will stop one value before the end index which we are giving. So, I want till 6, so I am going to give end +1 which is 7. So, L1 of starting I didn't mention anything, so by default it is considered as 0. So from A I am going to slice till G. So I am just mentioning 7, not 6, that is because of the end value will stop one value before the end index which we are mentioning. Similarly, we are going to do in the negative value as well. See, if I want to stop till -2, I will be giving -1. Got it? That is how we will be slicing the list in negative index. Say for example, I don't want the elements continuously, I want to take them in different order. Say for example, in this I am just taking the element of index whose index is multiple of 2. So all index of 2 multiples. If I want to slice the elements like this, I will be giving the starting index. 2 multiple starts from 2 and I am not mentioning anything inside my end index, I am just leaving as it is. Then that is considered as till the end of the list, that is the length of the list, and I am just giving 2 as my index jumps, that is it starts from 2 and it adds 2 to your current index, that is I am at 2 at the present. So C will be printed. I am just going to add 2 to the current index which is 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So 4 is E will be printed. Similarly, 4 plus 2 is 6 which is G. So G will be printed. So this is how we will be doing in the positive indexing. Similarly, for the negative indexing, I am going to start at -6, that is the value for C. Similarly, for -6, I want to increment by 2. So -6 plus 2 is -4. For C will be printed for -6. -6 plus 2 is -4. So -4 index is E. E will be printed, and -4 plus 2 is -2. So -2 index value is G. So G will be printed. This is how we can do it in 2 ways, that is using the positive indexing and the negative indexing. The next one we are going to look at it. So what if I didn't mention, we saw the previous slide, that is mentioning without mentioning the end index. What happens if we mention the end index? Say for example, I want to get only the first 2 multiples from the list, that means first 2 index of 2 multiples. Here what are the 2 multiples? 2, 4 and 6 are the 2 multiples, but I want only the first 2 occurrence of them. So I will be doing like this, 2, and I will mention I want to stop at 4, I don't want to go till 6, so I will mention 5 as my end index. So 2, it will start at 2 and I am going to end the list slicing at index 5 and my step value is again 2. So C will be printed, the starting index is 2, C will be printed, my step value is 2, so 2 plus 2 is 4 will be printed. The next index it will not print because our end index is 5, it will not go till 6. Similarly, we can do that using the negative indexing. I am starting at -6, that is -6 as C, so I will print C. Then I am mentioning -3 as my end index, that is I want till -4, so I am just giving +1 value higher than that as my end index. -4 plus 1 is -3, I have mentioned -3 as my end index, and I am giving 2 as my index jump value. So first -6 C will be printed, then +2 which is -4 E will be printed. Later on it will not print G because our index stops at -3. So we have seen so far how to slice a list. So now we are going to look at how to reverse the list using the slicing syntax. Similar, see here, I'm using the same syntax for slicing, but I'm not mentioning anything other than that the index jump as -1. If I do so, I will get the whole list in a reverse order. See, I've mentioned L1 of double colon, and in the last part I've given -1. That is, it will start at 0 and it will end at the length of the string, and the step value will be -1. Say for example, 0 minus 1 is -1. So first H will be printed. -1 minus 1 is -2. So G will be printed like this till 0 it will be printing, till -8 will be printing. This is how you are supposed to reverse a list using the slicing syntax. These are the other ways of reversing the list using the slicing syntax. Say for example, I want A, B, C, D in the reverse order. Then I will take A, B, C, D. D is the last element I want to start with. So 3 is the index. I am going to reverse my list only from the 3 till 3. Got it? So what I am going to do is, I am just going to mention L1 and the starting index is 3. At last I am going to give my step value as -1. So first index of 3, which is D, will be printed, then 3 minus 1, my step value is -1. So the initial value -1 is 2. So 2, what is the value of 2? 2 is C, so C will be printed, 2 minus 1 is 1, B will be printed, then 1 minus 1 is 0, so A will be printed. This is how you will be reversing a certain elements of the list. Then this is the last 3 elements. If I say for example, I reverse the first few elements. If I want to reverse the last few elements, I'll be going in this order. Instead of mentioning the starting index, I'll be mentioning the ending index in the negative index values. Got it? So I want to reverse the last 4 elements. So I'll be starting from E. I want, instead of E, F, G, H, I want it in order of F, G, sorry, H, G, F, E. Got it? So I am going to start at minus, I am going to end at minus 4, I am going to start at minus 1. So I am not mentioning my start index, I am just going to mention my end index, which is minus 4. I have to stop at E. So minus 4 is the negative index for E, and I am going to reverse that. So what is the start index? Start index is 0. So what is my step by default? If I didn't mention anything, L1 of start index is 0. 0 minus 1 is minus 1. So H will be printed. Minus 1 is 2. G will be printed. Minus 2 minus 1 is minus 3. F will be printed. Minus 3 minus 1 is minus 4. So that is our end index. So that will be printed. Sorry, here you can see it is not printing till F because our end value ends one value before our end index which we are mentioning there. So minus, if it is minus 4 means minus 4 plus 1 is minus 3. So it will stop at F itself. So I will only get F, G, H, G, F as my result. In case if I want to include E also, means I will just increase this minus value to minus 5, like ending index as my minus 5. And the next one is to, so if you want to reverse everything except the last 3 elements of your list, so that I will be starting at minus 4. I don't want those 3 elements to be disturbed. I will be starting at minus 4 and I want E, D, C, B, A as my result. So to do so, I will start at minus 4 and then I give nothing as my end index, so it is considered as whole length. Then I am going to subtract, that is minus 1 as my end index. Minus 4 minus 1 is 5. First minus 4 will be printed, which is E. Minus 4 minus 1 is minus 5. Minus 1 is 6, that is C will be printed. Minus 6 minus 1 is 7, that is B will be printed. Then minus 7 minus 1 is minus 8. Then A will be printed. This is how you will get the first few elements reversed except the last few elements. Then if I want to get the last element alone, then I will just give a L1 of the minus 1 value, which will give the just last element of the list alone. Thank you for watching.